Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Edwards Trades. I hope you guys had a fantastic Thanksgiving break as well as Thanksgiving meal. I hope you guys had fun enjoying time with your family and friends. And today's video is going to be a little bit short and sweet to the point. The reason being is because today's video I want to talk a little bit more about the economic news that's been kind of playing out within the market. And as we move into the holidays, we do have major economic news coming out that could potentially either allow the stock market to have a Santa Claus rally or continue on in the downward direction they already are, leading on to the new year 2023, right? So first and foremost, why am I being a little bit lenient about technical analysis for right now? It's because of the fact that which is going to be the 30th, right? We have Jerome Powell going to make a speech about what his plans are for the new year, more than likely, and as well as what his plans are when it comes to interest rate hikes, right? I know I've been explaining that every now and then in my YouTube videos, but I can't stress it enough that interest rates generally allow the feds to control the economy and control inflation. It's significantly important whenever he makes these discussions and decisions and talks about it, because the stock market reacts either positively or negatively depending on what he says, and tomorrow's speech will determine if we are heading in the right track towards decreasing inflation following into the new year, and whether or not he's going to keep a 0.75 basis interest rate hike. He's going to be hawkish, or he's going to be a little bit more lenient and do a 50 basis point rate hike, right? So we won't know until tomorrow, but I'm going to go ahead and discuss a little bit of my ideas are, and generally what I think more than likely is what's going to happen, right? So typically leading into the holidays and Christmas, the stock market has a Santa Claus rally, which is typically a bullish turnaround in the market where we have significantly upside potential, and we're seeing high highs and high lows, and the market rallies leading on to the end of the year because it's the start of new year, new month, and that's typically what tends to happen at the end of the year, especially as we're seeing a lot of significant downward pressure throughout the stock market, right? They want to see positivity. It's the holidays, they just want, it's kind of like everybody starting fresh, and they want to start off strong, end the year strong, and that's typically what a Santa Claus rally is described as in the stock market, right? So the question is, are we going to get that this year? And again, tomorrow Jerome Powell is going to discuss what is happening, right? So before I get into my thought process about the situation, I'm going to go ahead and bring up some economic data, and just to give you guys what I think is going to happen as far as decision making, and a little bit of global news as well that's kind of been affecting the stock market. And yeah, let me go ahead and pull that up real quick. Give me 1 second. All right, here we go. All right, so what you guys are looking at is I'm going to go ahead and highlight it, right? This is the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it's basically giving CPI data from a 12-month period, from the whole year. Of course, we got our numbers recently for October's inflation. I think December 11th we're going to get November's inflation report, so in about 2 weeks. And the last report that we had, right? You guys can go ahead and ignore these numbers here, right? These top numbers. We're going to just talk about the 2022 numbers, which is down here below, right? So to emphasize exactly what's been going on, right? From a month-to-month standpoint, right? Ever since the beginning of the year, right? Inflation has typically been extremely high, right? As you can see here, all the way to the month of July, where we saw a little bit of decrease in inflation, right? The summers were typically the highest point of inflation, and Jerome Powell has been extremely hawkish for pretty much the whole year, right? He's been doing 0.75 basis interest rate hikes since the start of the new year, or start of 2022, I should say, and it's continuously been in hawkish territory for quite some time. And obviously, the market doesn't like that type of reaction. When a Fed's hawkish, that typically means more downside and more pain, not only in the housing market and as well as the strength of the dollar, but also, higher interest rates means lower stock markets, right? And after July, right? All these numbers have been 0.75 bases. Powell's been keeping it 0.75, for quite some time, right? October's numbers that were released in November, right? From the September to October, it's a pretty dramatic drop, right? It's not like from July to August where it's only barely 0.2%, right? 0.1 here, September, October is 0.77. So it's about, well, I'm not really good at math, but almost to like, let 0.9, whatever, right? The gist is that this is significant improvement from September's inflation report to October's inflation report, and that saw a big drop down as far as inflation, right? And the numbers have still been 0.75 basis points, right? So what does that mean exactly? So from a, stock analytical standpoint, inflation is improving, right? With that decrease, right, that significant decrease, right, in that drop of 0.6%, right, that is a good sign that the interest rate hikes are working. Inflation is cooling off, and that's why during this time when the report came out, we saw a little bit of a rally for SPYs, the QQs, and the tech sector, right, the risk on investment, right? So this is a good step, right? It's 0.6 drop. As you can see here, it wasn't really dropping as much. It's just 0.2 point. It's still extremely high. Now it's at 0.77, right? So what is the overall objective here, right? Well, although we saw a good monthly report on October, we're still not out of the woods yet, right? Meaning, Jerome Powell can still be hawkish and do a 0.75 basis interest rate hike to ensure that the new numbers that come out for November in 2 weeks, right, reveal that inflation's maybe could potentially drop another 0.6%, right? So just to summarize, right, the October report is a pretty big deal. We dropped 0.6%. Inflation is working. The basis 0.75 basis seems to be showing improvement. Now, what could potentially happen and what could encourage a Santa Claus rally, right, would be if we get the new report for November and inflation drops another 0.6%, 0.5, as long as we're seeing, month to month, back to back improvements in inflation, and these numbers are going lower, lower, and lower, I can assume that we're going to have a Santa Claus rally if the numbers reveal to be positive, as well as his speech tomorrow, it proves to be positive, right? What I think he's going to say tomorrow is that he's more than likely going to discuss the report here, right, for the October interest rates numbers, right? And I think he's going to be hawkish still because of the fact that even though we dropped significantly from the September report or the September numbers, it's too early to kind of back off and do a 0.50 basis interest rate hike, right? Lowering it because it's too soon to tell. I think Jerome Powell is still going to keep it hawkish, do 0.75 basis interest rate hike, right? Because this is the first sign of improvement. And although I don't know what he's thinking, I just think that just because we have one data showing positive numbers does not mean that we should tone, interest rate hikes back down to 50, because obviously, it's too soon. We don't, they don't want to, tone down interest rate hikes and then inflation goes right back up again and then we're back to square one, right? I think he's going to keep it hawkish, but he's going to, be positive about it and say, well, this is a first sign of improvement in inflation. And if the next report for November, which comes out 2 weeks from now, reveal lower numbers, then I can say for the the remaining, we can have the Santa Claus rally that everybody wants, right? And leading on to the new year, right? New new investors, new money, so on and so forth. We can start off the new year potentially bullish, right? Potentially bullish. I'm not saying we will be, but if we can get another lower number inflation report, then more than likely Powell is going to be less hawkish right, leading on to the new year, and that's what people are expecting. That's what people want. So this is a good start, and I'm only talking about the numbers because this is everything, right? I've been saying it in most of my videos whenever inflation report comes out, because this is determines the overall direction of the market. And I believe last December we did have a Santa Claus rally before the inflation number got a little high, and then the Russia-Ukraine war in February. But again, emphasizing my point is that the October numbers, inflation numbers dropped. That's a good sign, right? If the November numbers, CPI numbers come out lower, very good sign. But as far as the speech tomorrow, I think he's still going to be a little hawkish about it, right? I don't want him. I wouldn't want him, or not want him, but I really wouldn't think that he's going to drop interest rate hikes to 0.50 because it's too soon to tell. It's too early, and of course, lower back-to-back monthly numbers of lowering inflation is a step in the right direction, right? He wants to bring it back down to the 2% level, right? So we'll see if the numbers come out positive. If so, I expect the Santa Claus rally to make its way, in the near future, maybe a week from now, but so on. I think tomorrow he's going to be still hawkish, but give positive light and say, hey, even though the numbers came out lower, I don't want to jump the gun and, and start everything back to square one and make a mistake, because it's crucial for him to decide, all right, let's keep it going 0.75 till we see maybe 3 back-to-back numbers of lower inflation numbers, right? So enough rambling about that. I think that's what he's going to say tomorrow. He's going to keep it 0.75, continue to see more, wants to see more improvement, and maybe we'll have that Santa Claus rally, right? Of course, we got to look at the negative side. If the numbers for November come out super bad, let's say it goes back up, and obviously no Santa Claus rally, and we're back to lower lows and bear market territory, and potentially the new year is not going to start off so pretty, right? The new year, we want to start the new year fresh and strong, and that's what everybody's hoping for. So we'll see what he says tomorrow. And yeah, with that being said, now we're gonna go ahead, and I'll show you guys another article as well, discussing about it, right? His speech tomorrow. Today the stock market dropped because of two major economic newses. Of course, his speech, and as well as let's go ahead here. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about another news article, but as you can see here, it even says here on CNBC, investors are closely watching ahead of its December meeting, where the central bank is largely expected to deliver a smaller 0.5 percentage point rate hike after 4 consecutive 0.75. All right. A pause, as you can see here, a pause in rate hikes or a pivot will likely send the markets higher. So if he does a 0.5, Santa Claus rally. If not, we'll see lower, right? So that's what everybody's waiting on tomorrow. So another major economic news that's kind of been flurrying during Thanksgiving break, right, was this whole protest that's going on with China. And I'm mainly emphasizing this major economic news because this kind of led to the downfall of Apple shares, because there's whole protest going on in China, especially in the Apple's factory. A lot of tension going on in China. So Apple dropped as far as shares numbers, right? And normally I don't like to bring news into the technical analysis side, but of course we have to know exactly what's going on with the global news is important as well than just USA news alone. But this kind of led to the drop of Apple shares of today. We saw a not massive, but pretty decent sell-off take place. Apple's currently sitting at 140, where last week it was sitting roughly around like 148. So, yeah, protests in China affecting Apple production. A lot of analysts they stated that Apple's going to lose production. How's it going to affect Christmas, and people trying to buy stuff for buy new iPhones, so on and so forth. So with this tension, Apple's kind of sitting in a tough spot, and we're going to see how it's going to pick up from here on out. So with that being said, that's it for the economic news side, right? Today's video is just strictly about news and my overall thought process of exactly how the Santa Claus rally may or may not take place. But of course, Jerome Powell is going to either say good things with good reason or going to say something bad for with good reason, or bad news with bad news. But again, the CPI is what we're waiting on the most. So we'll see what he says tomorrow. But of course, I believe tomorrow, let me see. We're leading into December. This is a final month to go strong, go big, or go home. So we'll see exactly what happens. Again, 0.5 basis interest rate hike may happen, right? I'm not saying it's not. But if it does happen, I expect the markets to rally and let this Santa Claus rally continue on, and we'll see higher highs in the stock market. But again, the main factor is what the November report that comes out in 2 weeks is going to reveal, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the Webull, right? So just to touch up about last week, right? Last week, kind of not a really big engulfing pattern, right? It's kind of been sideways, right? Again, we're still making higher highs and higher lows. So whatever Powell says tomorrow will determine the overall direction. But just overall, sideways, we did see a little bit of a pullback, which I did state was going to happen in the market. But again, if we bring out the Fibonacci retracements and SPY, right, from this prior high to this one, right, from here, we're still sitting above the 38.2 retracement. So not really a whole lot of downward pressure. Even if we pull back and he says something bad, as long as we hold above this trend line, this 38.2 retracement pattern, it's still fairly bullish short term. But again, the Santa Claus rally, we could see a possible pullback tomorrow for a move higher, or we can see a possible move lower for a possible rally, later for the month. But it is the last month of the year. So let's see if the Bulls can come back, make it strong, or it's either Bears win the last month, Bulls get nothing, or Bulls take over, get that Santa Claus rally, and keep it going and end the new year strong. So with that being said, that's it for today's video. Of course, once Powell says his speech and what he's going to do, I'll go a little bit more technical and then reiterate my statements if need be. But for now, I'm not putting it too technical because, there's just, sideways consolidation and not a whole lot of movement. But again, his speech and, what I said is, extremely important. So I'll get into the technicals later this week because we have now, like I said, his speech tomorrow on the 30th. We also have employment data on Thursday. So, I want to be extremely accurate as possible and, of course, give you guys a better analysis and better prediction once we know what, the economic side is going to, reveal, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys later this week. I'll upload and do a in-depth technical analysis video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Hope you guys enjoyed, a little difference in my explanation today. If you guys want me to do more, economic side of it, I will do that. But yeah, I'll see you guys later this week. Peace.